Okay, welcome in. I'm now going to be reviewing all of Tuesday's action from the NHL. There were 9 games on tap, so let's dive in as the Montreal Canadiens were continuing their road trip in Nashville to take on the Predators. In the first period, Philip Forsberg would get the go-ahead goal, getting his 30th of the season from Evangelista and Ryan O'Reilly, and that goal happened with 4 minutes and 36 seconds remaining in the first. In the second, Nyquist would increase the lead to 2-0, getting his 17th of the season from Forsberg and Ryan O'Reilly. Brendan Gallagher would get his 10th of the season to cut the deficit to 2-1, getting the Habs on the board with their first goal of the game from Jake Evans and Josh Anderson, and that goal happened with 3 minutes and 21 seconds to go. Just 6 seconds after that, David Savard, Suzuki would win the faceoff. Caulfield would get the puck back to David Savard, and he would try to dump the puck in, and it took a very odd bounce off of the glass and ended up handcuffing Saros because Saros went to play the puck in behind the net. The puck ended up angling itself into the net. So the game was tied just 6 seconds after Gallagher scored. David Savard would pot his 5th of the season, tying the game up at 2 after 40 minutes of play. Ryan O'Reilly would give the Predators a 3-2 lead with 7 minutes and 41 seconds to go, his 23rd of the year from Nyquist and Lausen. Waugh would tie the game up with 5 minutes and 5 seconds to go. Joshua Waugh, I should say, tying the game up at 3, and there was no assist on his score. The game would need overtime, and just 17 seconds into the extra frame, Nick Suzuki, the captain, would get the game-winning goal, his 25th goal of the year, assisted by Caulfield and Mike Matheson. So with that, the Montreal Canadiens are 24, 28, and 10. They have 58 points. Very unlikely they're making the postseason. And as for the Nashville Predators, they have a record of 35, 25, and 3. And they are currently sitting in the second wildcard spot with 73 points in the Western Conference. All right, the next matchup took place in New Jersey. We had the Devils, and they were playing host to the Florida Panthers. All right, let's take a look and see how this game went. So in the first, Nick Cousins would open up the scoring for the Florida Panthers, getting his 4th of the year from Matthew Tkachuk, 2 minutes and 54 seconds into that frame. Rodriguez would increase the lead to 2-0, getting his 10th of the year from Tkachuk and Sam Bennett, a power play goal, 6.5 minutes into that period. And with just over 8 minutes to go, 8 minutes and 15 seconds to be exact, Hughes would finally get the Devils on the board with a power play goal, getting his 21st of the year from Bratt and his brother Luke. After 40 minutes of play, it was 2-1 in favor of the Panthers. In the second frame, Meyer would tie the game up at 2 with just under 9 minutes remaining in that period. That would be his 14th goal of the season. 7 minutes and 23 seconds remaining on the clock. Leo Strinan would give the Panthers a 3-2 lead. That would be his 11th goal of the season from Kulikov and Ekman Larson. After 40 minutes of play, it was 3-2 in favor of Florida. In the third, Nick Cousins would give the Panthers a 4-2 lead, getting his 5th of the season from Forsling and Tkachuk, 5 minutes and 33 seconds into that frame. 8 minutes and 44 seconds remaining. Colin Miller would cut the deficit to 4-3, getting his 4th of the year from Bratt and Jack Hughes. Sam Reinhart would get a late goal for the Panthers, an empty netter, his 45th of the season from Ekblad, with just 8 seconds remaining on the clock. So 5-3 is where we stand at the end of regulation. With the win, the Panthers are sitting at 43, 16, and 4. They currently are first in the Atlantic Division with 90 points, and the Devils are sitting at 30, 28, and 4, 64 points. They are currently 8 points out of the playoff spot, so it's looking very bleak that they'll be making any postseason action this year. All right, the next matchup took place in Pittsburgh, where we had the Penguins. They were playing host to the Columbus Blue Jackets. All right, let's take a look and see how this game went. So Jesse Puljujarvi would get his first goal of the season after signing with the Pittsburgh Penguins not that long ago, assisted by Ryan Graves, 6.5 minutes remaining on the clock. And with 1 minute and 3 seconds to go, Malkin would get his 18th goal of the year from Riley Smith and Ryan Graves. making it 2-0 in favor of Pittsburgh after 20 minutes. Johnny Gaudreau would get the Blue Jackets on the board 4.5 minutes into that second period, getting his 10th of the year from Roslovic and Werenski. Peake would get his first goal of the season for the Columbus Blue Jackets, tying the game up at 2, assisted by Jamie Bean and Alex Texier 5.5 minutes into that frame. Ryan Raquel would get a power play goal with 5.5 minutes to go, his 9th of the season, giving the Penguins a 3-2 lead after 40 minutes of play. Roslovic would get a short-handed goal for the Blue Jackets in the third period, 8 minutes and 4 seconds, assisted by Peake, tying the game up at 3. Just 22 seconds after that, Jeff Carter would score for the Pittsburgh Penguins, getting a power play goal, his 8th of the season, from Bemstrom and Riley Smith. Riley Smith would get on the goal scorer sheet himself, getting his 11th of the year, assisted by Evgeny Malkin, 9 minutes and 53 seconds into that frame. So with the victory, the Pittsburgh Penguins are sitting at 28, 24, and 8. They are currently at 64 points, 8 points out of a playoff spot. As for the Columbus Blue Jackets, they are sitting at 21, 31, and 10. They have the worst record in the Eastern Conference, so therefore very unlikely that they're making the postseason this year. All right, the next matchup took place in Boston, and we had the Bruins playing host to the Edmonton Oilers. So I'll get those teams loaded up on the screen. All right, just got to adjust this. Hold on. There we go. So in the third period, there's no scoring in the first 40 minutes of play. Pavel Zacha would score 4 minutes and 26 seconds into the frame, getting his 15th goal of the year from Heinen and Witherspoon, making it 1-0 in favor of the Bruins. They had a chance to end the game with an empty netter, but Nuge and Hopkins came back with a great hustle, preventing the empty net goal from happening. And with just 1 minute and 20 seconds remaining, Leon Draisaitl would tie the game up, getting his 31st goal of the year from Connor McDavid and Evan Bouchard. The game would need overtime to settle this one, and who else but Draisaitl would get the game-winning goal, his 32nd goal of the year from McDavid and Bouchard. So all three of those guys had 2-point nights in a 2-1 victory. So with the win, the Edmonton Oilers are 38, 20, and 2. They are currently sitting second in the Pacific Division with a record with hold on a second. Getting ahead of myself. So they are currently sitting second in the Pacific Division with a record of 38, 20, and 2 for 78 points. And as for the Boston Bruins, despite the overtime loss, 36, 13, and 15, they are currently sitting second in the Atlantic Division with 87 points. All right, the next matchup took place in New York. We had Islanders. They are playing host to the St. Louis Blues. So I'll get the teams loaded up on the screen, and we'll take a look and see how this game went. So in the second period, there was no scoring in the first. Torpachenko would kick things off for the Blues, getting his 11th goal of the year, assisted by Jake Neighbors, just 1 minute and 21 seconds into the frame. 8.5 minutes, Kyrou would increase lead to 2-0, getting his 20th of the year from Brennan Saad and Marco Scandella. Kyle Palmieri would tie the game up with 7.5 minutes to go, getting his 19th of the year from Pelech and Dobson. With 2 minutes and 13 seconds remaining on the clock, Pajot would tie the game up at 2, getting his 8th of the year from Aho and Anders Lee. 4 goals were scored after 40 minutes, 2 aside. Bo Horvat would score just 55 seconds into that third period, getting his 24th of the year from Nelson and Pelech. And then Barzal would add a late goal for the Panthers, my goodness, for the Islanders, his 19th of the year from Brock Nelson and Romanov. So 4-2 would be the final score in favor of New York. So with that, the Islanders are sitting at 27, 20, and 14. They're just 4 points out of a playoff spot, which is mind-blowing because when I just think about the Islanders a week or two ago, they looked like they were such a far fetch for them to be able to play catch-up. But here they are. They're looking like a new team and pretty dangerous. And I'm going to just say this right now, even though the trade deadline's not right away, it's coming up. I can see them being buyers rather than being sellers when it comes to the postseason. As for the Blues, after the loss, they're 32-27-3, and they currently have 67 points, and they're 6 points out of a playoff spot. So they could be sellers, they could be buyers. 6 points isn't that much, but again, if you can't go on a 3-game winning streak or 4-game winning streak, it might be tough to play catch up this late in the season with just about 20 games remaining on the schedule. All right, the next matchup took place in Winnipeg. We had the Jets, and they were playing host to the Seattle Kraken. All right, let's take a look and see how this game went. So Justin Schultz would kick things off for the Seattle Kraken. 8 minutes and 45 seconds into that frame, getting his 6th of the year from Bjorkstrand and McCann. In the second period, Kyle Connor would tie the game up at 1, getting his 26th goal of the year from Scheifele and Namestnikov, 8 minutes and 7 seconds into that period. McCann would give the Seattle Kraken a 2-1 lead, a shorthanded goal with 2 minutes and 4 seconds remaining on the clock, his 27th goal of the year from Yanni Gourde and Oleksiak. Adam Lowry would tie the game up with just 9 seconds remaining, getting his 9th of the year from Appleton and Sandberg. After 40 minutes of play, we were all tied up at 2. In the third period, just 1 minute and 17 seconds into that frame, Niederreiter would get his 18th of the year from Appleton and Adam Lowry. Thomas Tatar would tie the game up at 3, 1 minute and 42 seconds. So that just happened 25 seconds after Niederreiter scored. Tatar would tie the game up at 3, getting his 8th of the year from Matt Beniers and Jordan Eberle. Burakovsky would get a late power play goal with 2 minutes and 39 seconds to go. That would be his 2nd goal of the year from Evans and Jake McCann. So 4-3 would be the final score in favor of Seattle. So with the win, the Seattle Kraken are sitting at 28, 23, and 11 for 67 points. They are 6 points out of the playoff spot, and it's looking like they might be sellers. And I will upload a video in the future talking about all the different trades, as they did trade away one of their players this close to the deadline. So yeah, they're 6 points out of the playoff spot. So maybe there's a chance. Maybe they're playing sellers because they know it might be hard to play catch up. Anyways, just besides that, so the Jets, after the victory, are 39. So after the loss, I apologize. The Jets are 39-17-5. They currently are in second place in that Central Division with a record of 39-17-5. They're just trailing the Dallas Stars by 2 points. All right. The next matchup took place in Arizona, where we had the Coyotes, and they are playing against Connor Bedard and the Chicago Blackhawks. All right, let's take a look and see how this game went. All right. So, in the first period, Seth Jones would kick things off for the Chicago Blackhawks, getting his 2nd goal of the year from Connor Bedard and Tyler Johnson, and that goal happened with 9 minutes and 6 seconds remaining on the clock. In the second period, Nick Bustad would tie the game up at 1, 2 minutes and 7 seconds into that frame, assisted by Matt Dumba. Nick Foligno would give the Chicago Blackhawks a 2-1 lead with a power play goal, his 15th of the season from Connor Bedard and Tyler Johnson. Carcone would tie the game up at 2 with 8 minutes and 18 seconds remaining on the clock. That would be his 17th goal of the year. Jason Dickinson would give the Blackhawks a 3-2 lead with 5 minutes and 50 seconds to go, a power play goal, his 18th of the season from Korchinski and Vlasic. Kurashev would increase lead to 4-2 with another power play goal for the Blackhawks, getting them a 4-2 lead at that point, his 11th of the season from Nick Foligno and Tyler Johnson. In the third period, Seth Jones would increase lead to 5-2 from Jason Dickinson, and for Jones, that would be his 2nd goal of the game and his 3rd of the season. So 5-2 would be the final score in favor of Chicago. So with the win, Blackhawks are still the worst team in the league, but at least they now have 16 wins, 42 losses, and 5 overtime losses. And with the loss, the Arizona Coyotes are 25, 32, and 5, 55 points. They're 18 points out of a playoff spot, so it's very unlikely that they make the postseason. All right. The next matchup took place in Los Angeles, where we had the Kings playing host to the Vancouver Canucks. All right, let's take a look and see how this game went. So both these teams are one's for sure making the playoffs, the other one's still fighting for a playoff spot, but I will tell you where they're at in the standings. So in the first period, Trevor Moore would kick things off for the Los Angeles Kings with 9 minutes and 6 seconds to go. That would be his 24th goal of the year, assisted by Philip Deneau. Elias Pettersson would tie the game up in the second period, 3 minutes and 24 seconds remaining in the clock. That would be his 30th goal of the year, assisted by Höglander and Quinn Hughes. There was no scoring in the third. We would need overtime to settle this one, and JT Miller would get the game-winning goal, his 31st goal of the year from Brock Besser and Quinn Hughes. 2-1 would be the final score in favor of the Canucks. So with the win, the Canucks are still sitting first in that Pacific Division with a record of 40-17-7 for 87 points. And as for the Kings, despite the loss, I shouldn't have said they were fighting for a playoff spot because they are currently in a playoff position. They're third in that Pacific Division with a record of 31-19-11 and 73 points. But the Golden Knights have the exact same amount of points, so there's no guarantees that the Kings will finish third in that division, especially when their division rival has the exact same amount of points as they do. All right, the last matchup from Tuesday took place in San Jose. Do you know the way to San Jose? And the Dallas Stars were the visiting team. All right, let's take a look and see how this matchup went. It was quite the high-scoring affair, to say the least. So in the first, Anthony Duclair would kick things off for the Sharks with a power play goal, 3 minutes and 22 seconds into that frame, his 15th of the year, assisted by Zetterlund and Eklund. Speaking of Zetterlund, he would go on the goal score sheet himself with 7 minutes and 56 seconds to go. His 16th goal of the year from Duclair and Jan Rutta, 2-0 in favor of the Sharks at that point in the first period. Jamie Benn would cut the deficit to 2-1, getting a power play goal, his 10th of the season from Heiskanen and Jason Robertson. Stan Coben would tie the game up with 33 seconds to go. That would be a power play goal as well for the Stars, his 4th of the season from Heiskanen and Wyatt Johnson. After 20 minutes of play, it was all tied up at 2. In the second, Ryan Carpenter would give the Sharks a 3-2 lead, his 4th of the season from Sturm and Vlasic, 4 minutes and 39 seconds into that frame. Wyatt Johnston would tie the game up at 3, 8 minutes and 48 seconds into that period, his 20th of the season from Jamie Benn and Delandria. Anthony Duclair would get his second goal of the game, giving the Sharks a 4-3 lead, a power play goal with 4 minutes and 12 seconds to go, his 16th of the year from Zetterlund and Michael Granlund. Zadina would increase the lead to 5-3 for the Sharks, getting his 10th of the year from Mike Hoffman and Cody Addison, and that goal happened with 2 minutes and 10 seconds to go. So after 40 minutes of play, the Sharks had a 5-3 lead. In the third period, Granlund would increase the lead to 6-3, 3 minutes and 2 seconds into that frame, his 9th of the year, assisted by Anthony Duclair. So 6-3, 3 minutes and 2 seconds in that third period. So the Sharks had a 3-goal lead 3 minutes into that period. Cue the comeback. Stan Coben will get his second goal of the game, his 5th of the season from Wyatt Johnson with 7 minutes and 2 seconds to go. Wyatt Johnston would get his 21st goal of the season from Stan Coben and Jamie Benn with 6 minutes and 19 seconds remaining on the clock. And then Wyatt Johnston would score yet again, getting his 22nd goal of the year. And for him, that would be his natural hat trick. Oh, hold on. Johnston, 1, 2, and that would be a natural hat trick to tie the game up at 6 with 4 minutes and 18 seconds to go, assisted by Heiskanen and Jamie Benn. The game would need overtime, and Roope Hintz would get the game-winning goal a minute and 49 seconds into that extra frame, his 25th of the season from Stan Coven and Heiskanen. So the Sharks just seem to always find a way to blow leads. I don't know what it is about this team, but 7-6 would be the final score on this one for the Dallas Stars. They are sitting first in that Central Division with a record of 38, 17, and 9 for 85 points. And as for the San Jose Sharks, they are 15, 39, and 7 for 37 points. All right, that takes care of my recap from Wednesday night. Sorry, not Tuesday night, I apologize. As always, if you're new to this channel and you like this type of content, please feel free to hit the sub button. I'd be very grateful and very appreciative. Until next time, take care.